Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast. What can I say but Happy New Year to everybody around the world. I know it's going to be a very interesting, diverse and probably different year to what we're all hoping for, but look, let's embrace it. Let's embrace the positivity, the newness, the freshness, and sort of give ourselves a little bit of breathing space to say, look, we got through 2020. Let's sort of brace ourselves for 2021. Who knows what we're going to expect this year? We do know that we're going to be living with COVID, regardless of how many vaccinations and things like that come out. And we've known now that COVID can take many different twists and turns. When they think they've got a handle on it, it pops up again in a different strain or a different virility. So we all just have to become, I think, more adaptable. And the most important thing is that I think that we're all still here. That's the most important thing. And I think we can get through anything together if we really, really try. Now, I just want to quickly talk about New Year's resolutions because it's something that a lot of people have asked me in the last week. Amanda, do you believe in them? Do you make them? How do you go about it? What's the best way to do it? Look, I have a pretty stock standard New Year's resolution. Every year I make the same resolution that I'm going to try and be a better person, that I'm going to try and help as many people as I possibly can, and to just be the best person that I can be in whatever way that might be. Now, I think if we start putting unrealistic expectations on ourselves, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to buy a new car, I'm going to achieve that job or that house or that goal, or I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to do whatever, I think we're setting ourselves up for failure. Because we're setting ourselves up to sort of strive towards sometimes what are unrealistic goals, where if we set the goalposts in a way that we know that we can achieve them, then that in our soul resets our soul to believe that we are capable of anything. It's when we start to set ourselves unrealistic goals that, you know, a woman in her 50s says, I want the body of a 20-year-old. Well, very few people achieve that. I'm not saying it's impossible. Some people do achieve it, but for most of us mere mortals, that's impossible. So let's set some realistic goals. And that's why I like to sort of, in a sense, trot out the same New Year's resolution every year that I want to become a better person. Now, I don't necessarily put any limitations, any restrictions, any definitions on that, just that I aim to be a better person than I was last year. Now, for each and every one of us, hopefully we did become better people after 2020, even though it wasn't our resolution at the beginning of 2020 for many of us, but we did learn more about ourselves and who we are as human beings and what's now so important to us that may not have been that important this time last year. So it's interesting what a little bit of time makes a difference, that we all are able to sort of view the world through a different lens. For me, it's going to be probably a big year again, because as we move into these uncertain times and people are asking more questions and consciously more aware of, I think, of listening to their own inner voice, listening to their own psychic ability, starting to explore things that once upon a time they had no interest in, and now all of a sudden tarot's the new flavour. Every time you open up social media, there's a course in it somewhere. You know, it's something that sort of now is becoming very mainstream. It's almost brings a chuckle to my face, because I think of all the years that I've been in the industry, which is well over 40 years now, and it was, you know, something that people didn't talk about. It was something that people did in secret, that they sort of, you know, booked a reading with someone that came through the friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. It was almost like the Secret Service trying to get a reading with someone. And now here we are, we've got radio and television programs all around the world. We've got social media flooded with it. Everybody knows somebody that does it, or everybody owns a set of tarot cards or some sort of what used to be termed as fortune-telling tools, which really aren't fortune-telling tools. I mean, you know, to predict the future is something we can all do. And we've all done it at some stage or another, whether we realise it or not. Even if we've said it's going to rain today and it doesn't, we've made a prediction. So I just think it's interesting to see how far we've come as a globe in all those years, from something that was sort of so secret and so hidden. And, you know, in the very early days when I when I first started reading, everybody sort of talked about they had a different job, you know. Everybody had a cover story of what they did. And I can remember even my own father didn't acknowledge the fact of the sort of work I did, because it was something that, you just didn't talk about it until I, luckily enough, landed a full-page newspaper write-up in the local paper many, many moons ago now, and I can remember sending him a copy, and he turned around and he took it into work and told everybody this was his daughter. But when they asked him what I did, what was the article about, he just said, it's just about a work. He didn't say what my work was. So even though he was very proud of me, he still wasn't able to sort of speak up and talk about it in an open fashion manner. So luckily now those sort of times have changed, and we're all able to sort of open up and sort of share with the world our belief systems and the things that aren't quite so scary anymore. So that leads me to the Simply Tarot card of the week this week, which is the Three of Pentacles, which is improvements underway but delays around it. Now, isn't that very apt for where the world is at the moment, where we do have improvements underway, particularly if you're looking at the rollout with COVID vaccinations and us all starting to try and find some sort of new normal or some way of living with COVID and getting on with our lives. And it is the card of renowned glory. Now, by that I mean it's the highest point that we can get at this point in time in our life. So if we look at renowned glory as being, okay, we're in the highest point that we can be at the moment in the world, but we also have to be aware that we still have to keep improving things and trying to move things along, and that we can have, renowned glory in our own lives. We can sort of feel a sense of pride. We can feel a sense of achievement. But the third and the final meaning on this card is a place of worship. Now, I think it's really important in these very unusual sort of times that we go to the place that we feel secure in. Now, whether or not that's a church or a synagogue or a place of worship, or whether it's where you feel most comfortable in yourself, it may just be sitting in your comfortable chair or going to the beach or sitting under a tree and watching the flow of the river or the lake. It's your place that you feel secure. It's where you sort of can sit and contemplate and feel refreshed and recharged and sort of get in touch with your own inner thoughts. Now, that's what I mean by a place of worship. So, yes, this card is very apt for the moment. We do have progress around the world, but we still have some delays around it. I mean, rolling out a vaccine is no easy task. And we all do have the ability to turn around and say, well, we are where we're precisely meant to be at this point in time. We are at the highest place that we can be. Look at how far we've come in less than 12 months with being able to bring vaccines out for COVID-19, and that the world is starting to be able to slowly start to unravel from that, and we are able to move forward. So it's a good situation now that we're able to sort of start to see some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that that's the important thing there with that. Now, astrologically, we've still got some very major planetary configurations, and each week the astrology section seems to be getting a little bit longer because there's so much I want to share with you. This week I want to start with a completely different angle of astrology. I want to look at the planet Neptune. Now, Neptune is the planet of illusion, delusion. It's also where our creativity comes from. It's where we can sort of remove ourselves a little bit from reality and allow ourselves to daydream, or to sort of just sit and just be and see where the wandering thoughts take us. Now, sometimes out of the ability to be able to do that, and we tend to think of children doing that, sitting in a classroom, daydreaming, staring out the window instead of paying attention to the mathematics or the English lesson or whatever might be going on. But we as adults have lost that ability. Now, we need to all, each and every one of us needs to be able to try and bring this back into our lives, particularly over the next month or so. Have that little bit of time that we can daydream, or we can just see where our thoughts take us. With Neptune being in Pisces and well and truly entrenched there, this is really, really important for our mental health. Now, at the moment, we have Neptune squaring or making an uncomfortable connection between what's known as the South Node, which is the Moon's node. So this is not actually a planet, but what this is it gives us a glimpse into what's actually happening in the world around us, and particularly for each and every one of us. It gives us a little glimpse into whether we're handling what's going on in our lives in the correct fashion. Now, at the moment, Neptune in Pisces, as I said, is making an uncomfortable connection with the south of the moon's nodes in Sagittarius. Now, what does that mean for the layperson? What that means is we all sort of feel as if we're COVID tired. We're all sick of everything. We're all worn out. We just want life to go back to normal. And it's like, oh, look, if I can cheat a little bit here, or I can do that a little bit easier. Oh, look, I won't worry about it. I forgot my mask. Oh, who cares? You know, I'll make sure I take it with me tomorrow. So we can all become a little bit too complacent that we take unnecessary risks with our health and with our lifestyle. So when you have those moments where you think, oh, I've forgotten the mask, oh, don't worry about it, I'll make sure I get it next time. No, turn yourself around, go back into your place of abode and pick up that mask. And while you're there, pick up a spare one and leave it in the car, or leave it in your purse, or leave it in your knapsack, so that you won't get caught out if that's what it is. And it's the time to sort of really make sure that we don't try and take the easy way out because we are so worn out, or we're so sick of it, or we just want to be able to be free. We just want to be able to feel young and carefree again. It's really important that we double down on this. Now, the north node of the moon's north nodes is in Gemini. So what this is showing us there with Neptune squaring that or making an uncomfortable connection there is that we have the way forward. We know the way forward. We know the communication. We know the information that's been shared with all of various forms of media around the world, whether it's print media, TV, social media, talking to your next door neighbour, whatever. We all know we've got information there at our fingertips. What we need to decipher is what do we believe and what do we not believe. We've got to sift through it. Not everything that is shared with us is truthful, and we know that. We know that as human beings, that, you know, like, yes, we all might have particular ways that we vote or particular ways that we view or judge a situation, but we also have to be open to looking at the opposite side or looking at the other person's point of view and being open-minded enough to say, well, hang on a minute, that could have merit. Maybe I better explore that a little bit more. So that's what the moon's north node is asking us to do, is look at that opposite point of view. And it's not saying you necessarily have to adopt it. It's just saying have an open mind, look at it, explore it, and you might just find that there's some answers in there that you hadn't quite considered before, and maybe they can become your new truth too. We have the usual culprits that we've been talking about for such a long time now. We've still got Pluto conjunct or holding hands with Mercury in Capricorn. So we really do need to be very careful and really put our listening ears on with what the politicians are saying around the world, or the people in power, or the people that are handling, you know, the COVID crisis in your area. Really make sure that you do put your listening ears on and listen to the directives and the information that's being shared with you. I know not all of it is palatable, and it's not necessarily everything that we want to hear. And I know there's many parts of the world that are heading into lockdowns again. And I know everybody's so sick and tired of that, of being locked in their homes and not being able to have the freedom that they need to have. But we all have to take responsibility for our role in this COVID thing. And this is why it's so important to listen very carefully to what's being instructed and follow it to the letter, to as much as you can. Be the best you can be at it. Be the perfectionist with it. We also have Saturn conjunct or holding hands Jupiter in Aquarius. So hopefully what this is going to do is Saturn's going to start to give us the discipline, the structure, the ways, the opportunities to be able to expand out our world and maybe come up with some completely different ways, or some light bulb moments, or some releases, or some answers to things that are going on around the world that maybe we hadn't thought of before. I know it's absolutely fantastic that we've got these vaccines that are coming out at a very, very rapid rate. But what this sort of spells to me is, with Saturn holding hands with Jupiter, maybe, just maybe, we're going to have another breakthrough in that department. Maybe, just maybe, we're going to have a vaccine that they're going to trip across that maybe was something that they were working on for another virus, another situation, that they sort of modify it a little bit, and then bingo, we've got another vaccine that we can roll out that maybe might not need the refrigeration. Maybe it's something that's going to be more cost effective, something that can be rolled out around the world, particularly to the third world countries, in a very fast manner, and get it out there and get the world inoculated. Fingers crossed. But certainly we're going to see some amazing breakthroughs. We're going to see some light bulb moments. We're going to see people starting to think and look at things differently. Now, finally, I want to talk about Mars in Aries. Now, Mars has been in Aries for nearly 12 months now, and it's been the planet of action that's been asking each and every one of us to really look at what we are doing as an individual. Now, Mars is coming to the end of its transit in Aries, so it's really, really sort of doubling down on the energy and asking each and every one of us to really look at what we are responsible for, whether it's our role in our local community and how we handle the COVID crisis in our local area. Is it asking us to be the best person that we can possibly be, asking us to be a little bit more patient, asking us to find different ways to sort of sort out our lives before Mars moves into the next sign of Taurus. So you may find that you're going to have a little bit of troubled sleep over the next couple of weeks as Mars does its a fine little dance in Aries. Sometimes that can bring on headaches. It can sometimes bring on a little bit of jittery sort of energy where you can't seem to sort of sit still. You can't seem to focus on things. Some people find that they get headaches. Some people find they can't sleep. And some people just find that they've got that much energy that they can't sit still. Whichever way it affects you, just go with it and know that this is really important, and it's your individual way of Mars revving up your last few weeks together before he changes signs. So I hope it's been helpful and sort of helped you understand a little bit more about what's happening in this amazing world of ours as we work through, the very first week of the year. And again, Happy New Year to everybody around the world. And let's make 2021 a year to remember that we smile and that we find peace in our hearts, and we find the things that are important to us continue to grow and become more important, and we enjoy each and every relationship and each and every person that crosses our path. We're going to talk with Alex. Now, I'm going to not even try and help. It's a very difficult word for me to pronounce. I know you're in Pennsylvania, Alex, so let's just leave it at that. How are you today, Alex? Alexis?
Alexis.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Alexis? And I do apologise for incorrectly pronouncing your name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was just like a love reading on somebody that, I'm like really in love with, and I just want to know like what's their true intentions, how they feel about me, and if this is going to move forward.
Okay, do you mind sharing with me their first name, sweetie?
Yeah, his first name is Albert with an E.
Okay, all right, let me tune into Albert's energy. It's really, really interesting because the first thing that I'm picking up with him is the fact that there's been a lot of changes in his life in the last 12 months, and the spirits are tickling my nose today. There's been a lot of changes around him in this last 12 months. And I mean, yes, we've all been through changes, and I know that sort of seems like a very generalised thing to say, but I don't mean it to sound generalised. What I'm picking up is there's been a lot of changes, a lot of shifts in energy, a lot of deep thinking, a lot of trying to sort out what it is that he wants in his life, where he's going, where he's coming from, what's sort of next. And in the middle of all that is you. And I keep coming up with these two question marks. Now, I'm not quite sure how to interpret that. I'm going to look at it from the way that it struck me when I first saw these two question marks, was the fact that he's concerned that he's not good enough for you, that he can't give you everything that you need. Now, I want to turn around and say to him, that's completely wrong. You wouldn't have fallen in love with him. You wouldn't be questioning how he feels about you if you didn't think he was good enough for you, whether there wasn't a strong enough connection there and the two of you, were meant to be together. Look, I think it's going to take until about March before he really makes final decisions and you start to feel comfortable that this relationship, this connection is sort of moving forward in a way that you feel that you can depend on it, you can rely on it. Has he just moved house?
Mm-hmm.
No, he hasn't just moved?
Has he just moved?
Yeah, because I feel that there's movement of residents around him, and I wasn't sure whether he's just done that or he's about to do that.
I don't know. Maybe he's about to do that, or maybe he just did. We recently just connected. I just moved a couple months ago.
Yeah, no, I feel there's a change of resonance coming up around him. And to me, that was sort of like the symbolizing of the changes that were coming forward. That sort of like once that sort of happened, it was like then the energy starts to rev up between the two of you, that he starts to sort of open up. He starts to become a lot easier to understand. Like there's a lot more communication. The relationship is taking a definite direction moving forward, and you feel very, very comfortable with sort of knowing that the relationship is heading in a direction that you want it to. Look, I'm not sure that this is the man that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, but for now it's the person of interest. It's the person that you feel the strongest connection with, and I think we need to honour that. We need to see where this can go without any expectations, you know, whether it's going to be a lifetime commitment or a 6-month commitment. Let's just go with the flow and see where it goes. But this year for you, Alexis, is going to be a year of change as well. I think you're going to learn a lot more about yourself. I think from about the middle of the year, there's going to be some very significant changes very quickly for you. It's like 1, 2, 3. 3 things have changed within a month, but you're in control of that. It's not something that's happening without your knowledge. It's sort of like you're driving this forward. So whether it's a, you know, change of job, change of home, and then sort of change of friends, and it's all going 1, 2, 3. It's like that. It's like a complete change of direction in your life, and you'll be really, really happy with that. So I hope that's helped you, Alexis, and have a happy New Year, sweetie. We're going to talk with Jennifer in Indianapolis in Indiana. Are you there, Jennifer?
Yes.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, sweetie?
I guess love.
Love. Okay, that's a good way to start the year, Jennifer. It's always a nice way to start. So no one of interest that you'd like me to look at, Jennifer?
General.
Would you repeat that for me?
General.
Oh, just general. Okay. All right. I always ask if there's someone of a point of interest, because quite often people sort of say, I want to look at love, but they've got somebody that they've just met or somebody they've just started dating. That's why I always ask. Okay.
No.
First thing that's coming up here, Jennifer, is that there is somebody from your past that's crossing your path. Now, whether or not that's going to be just in the form of a social media sort of contact, but there is someone coming up from your past, first and foremost. I want to just use that as a marker in time. I want to turn around and say to you, okay, that's there, but that doesn't mean that we have to go back that way. So if that person, sort of somebody from the past, you know, sends you a friend request on one of the forms of social media in the next 2 weeks, then we can cross that off and say, okay, right behind that is going to be the opportunity for new love to come into you. It's not necessarily that I'm going to say that that's got any particular significance other than that. I keep feeling as early as next month that there's going to be 2 men that are going to come into your life that, you know, you'll go out on dates with both of them. I actually like the second one better. Even though he might be the more quieter one of the 2, I just sort of feel he's got more stability around him, and the overall feel with him is that there's more there that has got long-term longevity written over it. It's sort of, even though he might be the quieter one of the 2, and you might sort of think, oh, I don't know that the connection's there when you go out on the first and second date, I want you to persevere, because it's one of those situations where, yeah, I feel comfortable with them, but there's no bells and whistles and brass bands going off. And you think, well, maybe then the connection's not strong enough. Sometimes I think as we mature, I think we attract different type of people and different types of relationships that are a much more mature, a more grown up type of relationship. And because we've been so used to things having to feel right and sort of start off with a great energy, we tend to sort of think that maybe then this is not right. Look, both of the gentlemen are very nice. The first one has got medium to dark brown hair. The second one is just brown hair. It's not super dark. It's sort of more sort of erring on the side of dark blonde, blondie brown. Look, both of the gentlemen are nice. I think, you know, you've got the luxury of time to sort of go out on a few dates with both of them before you make a final decision. Nobody's asking you to be exclusive from the first week. So I think it's going to be a very interesting, action-packed year this year, Jennifer, because it's time now. You're ready. You've done all your soul searching. You've dealt with all your past. It's now time for you to be sort of ready to open yourself up to a very serious long-term relationship. You know in your soul you're ready for this. So was there a change of job during 2020 as well, Jennifer?
Yes.
Is that everything that you expected it to be?
Yes.
Why then am I getting a question mark around it? Is there an opportunity there for maybe a promotion or a diversification with this role in the first 6 months of this year that could put it more to where you want it to be?
Okay.
That's what I'm picking up. I mean, I've got a very sort of, what I was going to say, a vague sort of question mark. And when I see it vague like that, to me, it's not you questioning it. It's like something that's coming up that you weren't aware of, and you've got to then sort of look at it and say, oh, yeah, well, okay, this is good. I feel comfortable with it. I don't feel uncomfortable with it. I'm sort of looking at this happening more from about March through to June. I do see extra money around it, but I also see it taking you in a slightly different direction career-wise with the same company, but this will then lead to many more opportunities coming that you wouldn't have had you stayed in your current role. So overall, I think it's very exciting. I think it's good. I think you just need to stay on track. I think this is your year, Jennifer. You know, you can make your dreams happen this year, sweetie. So the best of luck and Happy New Year to you. So, you know, we're coming to the end of the show again. By doesn't the half an hour go very quickly each week? But it's important, I think, for each and every one of us to honour who we are, where we're going, what we want out of life, and to be aware of that we can be the very best person that we need to be. It's a time for sort of setting some sort of new normals for us, some new goals, some new ways of looking at our life, and hopefully a simpler, more contented sort of life, I think, is what 2021 should be about. It's not saying we can't work hard and play hard and have a good life. It's just sort of saying reevaluate what's important to you, look at those things, and then start to sort of make them your new normal. I know for me it's more about creating a work-life balance, and I think that's the same message that a lot of people have got, is that they've now learnt in this last 12 months how important it is to have everything in a balance, in a way that you do have, you know, enough work, enough play and enough rest, and that we don't just take people for granted, that, you know, our close connections, our family, our friends are really the important connections in our lives, and we shouldn't ignore them. So until next week, have a very, very happy new year. Whatever your traditions are, whatever your predictions are, whatever your intentions are for the year, may everything be filled with sunshine and lollipops. Until next week, bye for now.